Welcome to another episode here on A New Life in France. We've had great feedback for the different formats, so we're going to keep going with that format. So what you're going to be having each week now is on a Monday, you are either going to be having somebody's story or you're going to have something in the spotlight. Now, something in the spotlight could be looking at an area, could be looking at a certain thing that you need to know in France. So lots of different things coming there. We're also going to be bringing you motoring. We've got an expert who's going to be joining us who's going to be talking about motoring. So there's going to be lots of different things there as well. So always look forward to that on a Monday. On a Wednesday is going to be our property focus. So on a Wednesday, we're now going to be bringing you either a featured property or a number of properties in a certain area or a certain price range. And then of course on a Friday, we have our amazing French lessons as well. But what am I going to bring you today? What we want to be able to bring to you is we want to bring you more information about the different areas here in France. On our Facebook channel, one of the most commonly asked questions is, where should I move to in France? Or I'm looking at this area, will I enjoy it? Will I like it? Now what you have in France is just so much choice. So what we thought we'd do is just try and look at some of those key areas and bring you some more information that might just help as you try to whittle down where are you going to move to. Today we're going to be looking at Normandy and Brittany. They have probably been some of the most popular places for those in the UK looking to move to France. It's quite historic in terms of that. But also today we see not only the Brits moving there, we see Americans, we see people from Holland, we see people from further afield moving there as well. But why do they move there? Let's have a look at both of those certain areas. Now Normandy is very famous for the D-Day landings, the Normandy beaches. Lots of people understand and know where that is. And of course that coastline is going on to the Channel. So we have the Channel there, which is there. Now you can think about places such as Cherbourg and Caen, they are there as well. Lots of history in that area, not just with the D-Day landings, but also the Bayeux Tapestry. And people love that kind of area. It has that lovely coastline with lovely sandy beaches. What it also has as well, it has such a wealth of food and drink. You've only got to think about the cheeses in that area. You've got to think about the cider. You've got to think about Calvados in that area. So it's all about the land and it's also all about the sea. And that's what I love about there. There's so much history that's there as well. And you've got iconic places like Mont Saint-Michel. That really is something very special to go and look at. So it has something for the tourist, it has something for the second homer. But what it also has is for the person looking for a permanent move, they also know there will be other English-speaking people around that area. It is a popular place to move to. And you need to think about that as well when you're moving. You need to think about, okay, what is there? But we can also then think about communication routes. There's really good communication to the UK. There are a number of ferry companies that operate and go in that area, taking you back to the UK. Now, the most well-known and the one that gives the biggest service there going to the UK is Brittany Ferries. So you have that as well. You also have a couple of local airports that can service you going back into the UK. You've also got really good links back to Paris. So if you're looking to go from Charles de Gaulle or from Orly Airport to wherever it is in the world, you've got good communication routes there. You've also got a good motorway system as well that you can get up onto that will help you to move through fairly quickly. So when we look at that, it has so much going for it. So let's look at its neighbour Brittany, and then I'll summarise both areas and look at some other key things around it. What you have with Brittany, Brittany has a much more rugged coastline. Not only does it have a coastline to the Channel, it also has a coastline to the Atlantic. So it is much more rugged. And again, in terms of what it has there, it has the lovely countryside. It also has cider, it has apples, it has everything that to do with that as well, and those lovely cheeses. So that area is really well known for that. But what you also find with Brittany compared to other areas, Brittany is of course part of France, but it likes to feel itself as quite independent. It probably has a feel of Cornwall about it. And actually when you look at the links between Cornwall and Brittany, there's a lot of historic links to it as well. Now, what I like about both of those areas is when you think about the food, the seafood is absolutely to die for from that particular area. And that's because that area is influenced by the Atlantic. and it's also then coming up into the channel. So you do have a very varied sea life, and of course you can have an abundance of fish that you can enjoy, and also different seafood as well, including the crustaceans. So I do love it for that, and I really, really enjoy those ciders. Traditionally well known for cider in those areas. You have that rolling countryside, the countryside rolling across. You know that you're going to have rural areas to live in. You're also going to have your pick of beautiful seaside places as well. Now, prices in the area are not the lowest, but they're certainly not the highest. But it is very popular with those English speaking in both of those areas. A little bit more rugged in Brittany, and again the countryside does vary. It's a little bit flatter in Normandy, and it has from there. Now, both Normandy and Brittany as well have wonderful butters, and you've got to be able to look at what are you moving to that area for. A lot of people move to that area for the history, for the food, for the drink, and the proximity to the UK. So you will have a lot of expats from the UK moving into that area. You just will, and you can find lots of those. I think it's really good for permanent residents who still want to have that link and want to get back to the UK quickly. They might have family in the UK, they might have grandchildren in the UK they need to get back to, and you can still do that. You might think, well, what would the weather be like compared to the UK? Well, what you do have, because you have the Atlantic coming in, you definitely have those warmer summers, and actually through the winter it is not that cold. What you will find with the Atlantic pushing up to the UK, a lot of the time the weather will skirt Normandy and Brittany, will go up there. But when it does hit Brittany in particular, it can be very windy and very wet, let me tell you that. But actually when you look outside of that in the summer months, it is lovely, and you get not only the Atlantic air coming up, you also get some internal air coming up from the middle parts of Europe as well. But I do really say to people thinking of moving to France, if you want to be, and particularly if you are from the UK and you want to be closer to the UK still, but enjoy France, then Normandy and Brittany are certainly places to look at. You probably could drop down into the Loire Valley as well, but we will talk about that in another episode. You can come further up country as well towards Calais, when you go up to near Le Touquet and through there, and then Boulogne, and that again is slightly different. But for me, Normandy, Brittany has so much going for it. There are lots of great agents in that area, and there are lots of great properties for sale as well. So think about that in terms of that, but think about its history, and we also then think about some of the bigger towns that are there. Yes, you've got the coastal towns of Caen, of Cherbourg, you've also got Vannes, and you've also got Rennes and Dinard. They are there as well. And actually, like me, if you're into a little bit of rugby, actually rugby is starting to thrive in the area now as well. With RC Van just coming into the top 14, there's a little bit of rugby, and that's bringing some of the stars there as well. That's only if you're into rugby. But again, Rennes is really well known for its football as well. So I love that area. And the reason I like the area is so diverse. You've got lots of history, lots of things to go to. And if you were looking to have a business, then of course you've got all those great attractions on your doorstep. Everything from history, from D-Day, Mont Saint-Michel, and so much more. You've got the food, the drink, the great markets in that area. So think about that if that is on your list. And do remember, we're going to keep giving you now different areas. So we're starting in that northwest of France. We're going to come down that western coastline and then come into the south of France. When you look at that and you go from the northwest down along the west coast, then to the southwest and then to the south of France, that's the key areas where most people will be moving to. We will look at the mountains, we'll look at the big cities, and we will of course go to Paris. We will also then go over to the Alsace as well. But we're going to do the key areas down that northwest, down the western coast, and then to the southwest and the south of France as we go through. Really hope you've enjoyed this today. It is just a very different way of bringing you more great things to look at. If you enjoyed today's, please make sure you subscribe. We're trying to give you more and more information all of the time. Go to our website, anewlifeinfrance.com. Go to our Facebook channel, Moving to France. You can go on there and join and find other like-minded people. And we are here to help you. We're going to be unveiling a few different things we're going to be bringing to you, our subscribers and our viewers in the coming weeks.